The very symbol of our values as British Columbians and Canadians was targeted.
The Premier of British Columbia reacts to the announcement of an anti-terror sting operation in Victoria. Police arrested 2 suspects who they allege were planning to attack the BC legislature on Canada Day. And the CBC's Hannah Thibodeau joins me now from Ottawa with new details from court. So, Hannah, what do you know?
Well, we do know that the 2 suspects have now made their first court appearance. So Amanda Carody, aged between 28 or 29. The RCMP weren't clear on her official age. She's described by our reporter, Stephen Luss, out there as shorter with long, dark hair. When it comes to John Nuttall, he made his court appearance as well. He's tall, he says, between the height of 6'2" or 6'5". He says he's thin with lots of tattoos, a scraggly goatee, as well as long limp hair. So that's just the visual description of them so far. Now, he was explaining to me how the 2 suspects looked when they made their appearance in court. When it comes to Amanda Carody, he was saying that she was very twitchy during her court appearance, that her eyes were darting. And then when John Nuttall came in to make his court appearance, she was still there. He entered the prisoner's box, and at that time, she became very animated, I'm told. She tried repeatedly to talk with Nuttall. However, that didn't happen. And we do know that the next court appearance for the 2 suspects will be this Tuesday, so a week from today.
All right, Hannah, stick around now because we're going to take you now to Public Safety Minister Vic Taves. He commented on the charges a short time ago. Here's what he had to say.
Coming. Push this aside a little bit here. Good afternoon. As you are all aware, earlier today, the RCMP announced the arrest of 2 individuals on terrorism-related charges as part of Project Souvenir. The success of this operation was due to the close collaboration of our security and law enforcement agencies, including CSIS. I would like to applaud the RCMP-led Integrated National Security Enforcement Teams, known as INSET, and all of the partners for their outstanding work in this investigation. Our government remains unwavering in its commitment to protect Canadians, and this, of course, includes the fight against terrorism. We have taken strong steps to combat terrorism and keep Canadians safe. Recently, our government passed the Combating Terrorism Act and introduced Canada's first counter-terrorism strategy. Our government also created the Integrated National Security Enforcement Teams, and we have added nearly 3,000 frontline RCMP officers since forming government. Project Souvenir is yet another example of the long-standing and productive intelligence sharing relationship between our law enforcement and security agencies. Information sharing is a key component of Canada's counterterrorism strategy and is fundamental to protecting our citizens from terrorist threats. Yesterday's arrests demonstrate that terrorism continues to be a real threat to Canada. The RCMP has assured me that at no time during the course of this investigation was there an imminent risk to the safety of Canadians. Our government will continue to be vigilant and will ensure that law enforcement and security agencies have the tools they need to protect Canadians and their families. As this is an ongoing investigation and prosecution, I will have no further comment on this matter. Thank you very much.
And that was Public Safety Minister Vic Taves speaking in Winnipeg a short time ago, saying that he applauds the work of the RCMP and the partners for their outstanding work in all of this, that this is due to the success of a CSIS-led operation, that they are taking strong steps to combat terrorism, hiring 3,000 frontline RCMP officers since forming government, but also saying terrorism continues to be a real threat to Canada. Hannah, interesting to see Vic Taves commenting there, but not taking questions from reporters. BC Premier Christy Clark did take a number of questions from reporters, but a short statement there from the minister.
A very short statement from the minister. He did really point out that this was agencies, including CSIS. This was a group of different law enforcement agencies that thwarted this alleged terrorism attack. And it's interesting because it was the RCMP, as well as Canada's spy agency, CSIS, as well as Canada Border Services Agency. Now, we know that this investigation began back in February. That's what the RCMP said at its press conference a little bit earlier today. So when it comes to the bombs as well, it was interesting. He said that at no point in time during the course of the investigation was there an imminent risk to the safety of Canadians. The point being made here, the RCMP were talking a little bit earlier. They were showing those pressure cooker bombs. You can see them in the screen now. They were mentioning that while these pressure cooker bombs were placed on the outside of the legislature and near the crowds, they say they weren't in the crowds, say near the crowds, they could have caused death, they could have caused serious injury. However, these were inert, and they said that they had made sure that these were inert, so they weren't able to work, essentially. So that was one thing that the RCMP were speaking about a little bit earlier. When it comes to Premier Christy Clark, yeah, she did take questions during her press conference. She wanted to really pass along the message to Canadians, to the people of BC, to the people who showed up at the legislature to celebrate Canada Day yesterday, that there was no risk to public safety, and that she also went on to say that they won't be governed by fear. In fact, she said that quite a few times. They won't let them win. They won't let them scare them away. In fact, they're going to continue on and do their work today. Tours were going on. Even when she turned around to walk away to go back into the legislature, she was there with, it looked like people who were coming out to take a look at the grounds. I don't know if we have the clip ready, but if we do, let's take a listen to what BC Premier Christy Clark had to say.
They want us to be governed by fear. They want us to view each other with suspicion. They want us to be seized with anger. They want this because they hate the things that make us Canadian.
And they are referring to, again, I'll repeat the names, Amanda Carodi, either age 28 or 29, and John Nuttall, age 38. So very young. And at the RCMP press conference, one of the things that is really standing out is that it wasn't a group that was ordering them to do this. What they were saying is that they were inspired by al-Qaeda ideology. Now, that leaves a lot of questions. What was the motivation? Why were they inspired by this? All kinds of different questions, but no real answers from the RCMP on this. And just to repeat, too, Andrew, that they have made their first court appearance. When they went into court, I'll give you a little description because we don't have pictures of them just yet. Amanda Carodi, she's shorter, long, dark hair. When it comes to John Nuttall, very tall man, I'm told, between 6'2" and 6'5". He has tattoos, very crude tattoos, we're told, scraggly goatee with limp, long hair, and we're told that when Carodi was in the courtroom, she was very twitchy. Her eyes were darting from side to side. When John Nuttall came into the prisoner's box, she tried to talk to him quite a few times. Now, we do know, again, that these two will make their next court appearance a week from today.
All right, Hannah, thank you. The CBC's Hannah Thibodeau in Ottawa. Now, Michel Juno-Katsoya is a security expert and a former CSIS agent. He's joining me again now from Ottawa. So, Michel, I wanted to ask you, we were listening to the Public Safety Minister Vic Taves saying, you know, terrorism continues to be a real threat to Canadians, and then touting some of the things that the Conservative government has accomplished, in his words, in combating terrorism. There's a Combating Terrorism Act, and then hiring 3,000 frontline RCMP officers since the Conservatives took power. So, in your opinion, does CSIS and the RCMP have the tools they need to thwart these alleged terror plots?
Oh, that's a very difficult question, Andrew. Of course, the RCMP and CSIS will always ask for more if they can, because they have a daunting responsibility, which is to try to sort of stop terrorist plot before they unfold, before they are conducted. So in that perspective, you know, if you ask a security guy, they always want more to be able to cover more. In that perspective, also, the challenge that they have is the terrorists, any terrorist group, has the upper end usually, because it suffices that one person or one group succeed in conducting their terrorist, or even not conducting, just like we've been capable to do, and they get the coverage, they send this sort of wave of insecurity within the population, and that is a win in itself. So
yeah,
terrorists.
I want to ask you about that, because I mean, these are just, you know, two suspects. The RCMP at that news conference saying that they didn't give specific numbers, but that this was a very large operation. The RCMP, I remember a couple of months ago when they held that news conference at Pearson Airport, talking about the alleged Via Rail plot, also a very big operation. So, and also involving two suspects. So, you know, I mean, how thin can they be stretched? I mean, these are two very serious plots in just 2 months.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And this is the challenge. We're a huge country, we're well spread, and unfortunately, we don't have necessarily as much resources as more richer country like the U.S. And we don't have necessarily neither the security culture within our population to necessarily support or sustain the kind of security that we are demanding in order to be capable to stop those terrorist plots.
Should Canadians feel safer today that this plot was thwarted, or should they be concerned about it?
Well, they should be proud that the RCMP be capable to stop this plot. This is the means, as they described during the press conference, were extraordinary. Even covert operation to be capable to defuse the bomb, so they couldn't be at any time dangerous. But at the same time, we must have sort of this sober realization that it is only treating the symptoms. It's not treating the root cause of terrorism. It's not treating the root cause of extremism. And we have more evidence now that extremism is gaining in influence through various groups.
How do you treat the root cause of terrorism?
You need to understand a little bit more and to be much more careful about sort of the policy, the general policy that you put in place, that you have room for democracy, that you have room for people to vocal their discontent sometimes of the government, not necessarily agreeing with everything and not necessarily a laissez-faire of activities, but being capable to have the moderate, have the sort of the upper end, because now the extremists are capable to take the sort of the forefront of the activities, and that is extremely problematic. Is it sort of a phenomenal challenge for the government? Yes, it is. But unfortunately, security forces will not be the only solutions. They have to be involved, and they will keep doing their work, excellent work so far, to prevent a terrorist attack to take place. But unfortunately, they are working against the clock. They are working against the tide. They have to be capable to be supported by government that will also implement policies where the moderate and the general populations are capable to sort of be part of the security system, not only at the receiving end.
Michel, thank you again. Michel Juna Katsoya, a security expert and former CSIS agent, speaking to me from Ottawa.